Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Whatever, Whenever, the show where we talk about whatever we want, whenever we want. I am Robin.
And I'm the Mentok, the whenever of this podcast, I
And
think.
I'm the whatever, probably.
We got to say it with our chests, man. I think we were more confident last time around.
Well, yeah, we had a guest, so we had that all macho and stuff for our guest.
Shout out to Zach for coming through last week.
Yeah,
That was
that
some
was to
quality
Zach.
some quality stuff going on there. Quality flute playing in the background, and I kind of miss it this time around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, Ricky did do all those edits, so you do have to send him $5
Ah, okay, that's fine. Send me your Cash App, Ricky,
or PayPal
or
or whatever.
or PayPal or Zelle, or because there's so many of these damn apps these days.
Yeah.
No one talks about Venmo anymore. Have you realized that?
Oh, my family does. That's all they use. My family
So,
uses Venmo, and I have a PayPal, and they're like, why don't you use Venmo? And I'm like, I don't want to.
so we're saying that Venmo is like the Facebook of payment transfer apps.
Well, yeah, it's owned by Facebook. So,
Facebook owns Venmo?
yeah, you didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, they do. That's why they have Facebook integration on
Oh shit. Okay. I
it.
learned something new today. I should know this because I'm in the tech space, but
It's all good. Uh, but yeah, speaking of the tech space, we had a big information drop, like literally the day after we recorded the last episode.
Yeah, I think what we literally said there's not much going on with Activision, so or maybe we didn't even bring them up because we
Yeah,
didn't think
we
that there was much going on.
yeah, like before the episode we were like, should we talk about Activision? Have they done anything? And then we ultimately decided they hadn't really done anything, so there was no point in bringing it up if nothing has happened. And then literally the next day, uh, news alert, Microsoft bought out Activision Blizzard, like the whole
For
company.
$68 billion, or is it
Just
68 and a
say just
half?
say 69 billion for the meme. Just say 69.
All right, 69 billion for the meme because that's how much Activision is worth. Um, I think there's a lot to talk about surrounding that, right? I
Yeah,
so
there is.
on one end, no, I'm just gonna list them out, right? We got to start with our boy Bobby Kotick, I think. Um,
Yeah,
the properties that
he's
are pretty much being turned over, and I think also the effect on this will have on the gaming industry and Microsoft's like fixation on purchasing studios. Um, this is all interesting stuff. I think the game is
yeah.
changing, no pun intended. So
Yeah,
let's start with the easiest topic here because nobody likes Bobby Kotick. So I think that we can all unanimously agree that we're glad that this dude is out of here.
I want to say yes, but not quite just yet. Because he's still going to be there for at least a year, and then
Yeah,
he's getting a golden parachute and leaving the company with a big severance package, most likely.
of course. There was no other way for that to happen though. Even if it was like this huge scandal, they would have paid him out to leave anyway because I'm sure he owns a ton of that stock. So it's like there's no there's no easy way to get rid of a rat problem if for lack of better
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It sucks that we don't have, like, some better way, like, you know, taking him to court or something, but I don't think that's going to be really possible. So,
So
you know,
I'm gonna be pretty blunt here. How do you leave a voicemail saying that you're gonna kill somebody? Like a voicemail, like literal proof, right? Like you can press play and it's like I'm gonna kill you. Like if I did that to any of my coworkers, guaranteed I would not have my job.
yeah,
Or are you, Robin? Or any other normal human being in society. But I feel like some people are saying Bobby Kotick is dumb for doing that, but it's not that he's a dumb person. It's just when you have a certain amount of money, you're more or less untouchable, in my opinion.
Yeah, like when you have a certain amount of money, you just can do whatever the hell you want, pretty much. Like unless you're like exposed on like a certain level, where I don't. Let me think about this, because okay, yeah, unless you're like Epstein, then they'll just kill
Yeah.
you when you get caught.
So I was gonna make a similar analogy because I think
Yeah,
that there's like if the situation is really hot, then there's gonna be a fall guy, and in this
yeah,
case, Epstein was gonna be that fall guy. But I think regardless of how people feel about that, like I honestly think it was very sketchy.
yeah.
The
D-
but
did you hear about how they almost got his girlfriend the same way?
no, I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
I heard
no,
jokes
like
like, "Oh, she's gonna miraculously die at some point," but
no, what like the security guards turned off her camera for a little bit.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
we know what that means.
yeah. I mean,
So
it's back on. She's still alive as far as I know. But like they were like, oh, we just didn't give her privacy, and I'm like, yeah,
she's
sure.
she seems like a hard ass, by the way. She seems like she'd be a lot harder to flip than Epstein.
I don't know.
Like I don't
She's
think
crazy.
and the thing is like she was this will come back to Kotick at some point. I'm just going full circle with this, but like with that case, she is the fall guy. And I you can see some satisfaction from like the media.
Yeah,
Like, oh yeah, she has like multiple counts of, child uh sex trafficking or whatever, and I'm sure we got demonetized for saying, well, we're not even monetized yet in the first place,
yeah,
so I shouldn't even be worrying about that. But she got the charges for child sex trafficking, right? And like there's this kind of like cheering going on, but I'm just like, you have to sell to somebody to successfully traffic, right? So what you're just telling me, like, oh, okay, congratulations, but she had no customers. Um, we all know that that's the awkward side of things. Like, and it doesn't have like for
yeah,
me, I don't need the satisfaction of having like big names fall for this, uh, if they're not involved. But like, I think the people involved really should come to justice. But that's just not how the way the world works. So
yeah.
flipping to Bobby Kotick here, who was also on that flight list, by the way. Did you know
Yeah,
that?
he was. He was.
So, see, smooth transition. I told you it'll come full circle.
Yeah,
Um, he was also on that flight list, and he's threatening his employees, and he's getting this massive, I think it's estimated $400 million payout, and
yeah,
then he's gonna be the CEO for the next year until Phil Spencer takes over the entire Activision realm. So there's no easy way to get rid of a rat problem.
yeah. Uh, yeah. There really is. But I think that this is like only good for the future of Activision because, Bobby has tried saying that like this isn't the case, but we've had reports saying that it absolutely is. Which is that Phil Spencer came to Bobby Kotick and was like, "Hey, we can buy out the company and you can just leave." And
Yeah,
that's how they got it. Like
they
Bobby
they
will
were
tell you, "Oh, it was like a decision for like the future of the company or whatever," but no, he just wanted the easy buyout so he can leave.
yeah, they were definitely he was definitely looking to sell.
Yeah,
And that's the best way out. Like, you sell, you get the payout, you leave, you retire, and people never have to see you again while you're sipping mai tais on your private island.
yeah,
So, it sucks. I wish that the situation would have been a little bit better, like for the public to get some, or like for the employees to get some justice, where he's just voted out, and even still he would have gotten a payout. But just for like publicity's sake, this is like the quietest way for him to leave. Um, but yeah, I mean, in that sense, it's not just him. I think there's like a lot of executives in there that are guilty for curating a certain environment. If I were Phil Spencer, I'd be doing a pretty deep investigation during this
yeah,
transition period. Um, and like I honestly am not experienced at running a business whatsoever, so just take this with a grain of salt. But I would start like getting rid of useless positions, like on the executive side of things, and try to rework the culture from there and just like embrace the devs, um, and investigate what's already been reported and support that, you know. So
Yeah, if I were Phil, I think I'd like start launching a couple investigations and then fire some people who don't need to be there.
I'm pretty sure he's doing that though. By the way,
Yeah, yeah, I'm
um,
pretty sure that like I think it's just obvious given all of the like year or two of like public backlash against the company that like it would be stupid for him to not do that.
yeah, and he seems like the type of guy who's like very laid back and like fair, but I think
Yeah,
that he also doesn't tolerate that type of shit. And
yeah, he's like a laid back, but he also doesn't fuck around.
right. And he's making very aggressive moves. I've always liked Phil Spencer. And for the record, I'm not a huge Xbox fan. I do have Game Pass, which I think was great for people who have PC.
Yeah,
Um, I kind of wish it was better integrated with Steam, but I mean, whatever. It's Microsoft's platform, and they're allowed to have it. I think a lot of people get very uppity when gaming platforms are not exactly like Steam, and I'm not that type of person. So if you want to
yeah,
like make your own platform with its own perks or whatever, cool. And I think like all the free games available for Game Pass are awesome. So I have a lot of respect for Phil and what he's done for Xbox, um, despite not being a huge like fan of the actual console.
yeah. That's totally fair.
So
But
I guess you want to talk about any Activision properties that you have admiration for. Like let's discuss what's going over to Microsoft with this purchase.
well, I think we should get out of the way some like stuff that I don't really care about first, which is most of Activision stuff. But like Call of Duty, as far as we know, is still gonna stay multi-platform. So it's gonna be like Minecraft, where they still release it on PS4 and all that.
Yeah.
But
So here's my opinion with that too.
PS5.
They have spoken with Sony, and there was a bunch of contracts that were still linked to Sony, and apparently Call of Duty is like what your casual gamer will buy a PlayStation for. Like, oh, the new Call of Duty is coming out for PS5. Can't wait to get my hands on it. Um, and I've heard that like that type of talk in the streets. So people like will gravitate toward a PlayStation 5. I think that's their biggest market, or a PlayStation in general is Call of Duty's biggest market. So I honestly think, and there's been like some vague language from Phil, but he says we're gonna continue doing our obligations that we have for Call of Duty with PlayStation, which I think will it would be smart if it stayed multi-plat, um, similar to the Minecraft situation, right? But they have the power to make any exclusive Xbox Call of Duty title at any point in time. So
Yeah,
I'm thinking
I
maybe
think
like all Warzone enhancements are going to be on PlayStation, but maybe like one Call of Duty is probably going to be exclusive or whatever, just for them to test the waters.
I
And if it doesn't work, then next year it's multi-plat again, you know?
yeah, I can see them doing like maybe like they'll like once their thing with Sony as it is now expires, I think they'll like maybe do like timed exclusivity at first, where like it'll be on Xbox first, and then they'll see if that does like sales boost or whatever, and then if like it does enough, then they'll like just go straight to like Xbox only after that.
Right.
Yeah,
So seeing also that the acquisition won't be fully complete until next year. Pretty sure the next Call of Duty will be multi-plat. I'm sure that those contracts have already been signed and
yeah,
approved. So, what I'm saying is probably going to be happening like in the next couple of years, maybe next 3 years. But
yeah,
I don't think there's going to be a huge effect on the Call of Duty series right now.
yeah. I don't think like in the like short term anything major is gonna happen. So if you're still a fan of Call of Duty, then you know you don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah, I really don't think that Call of Duty is going to go anywhere. I think that if Microsoft wants the most income out of that, like just mooch from Sony,
Yeah,
pay the fee to be on the platform. I think there's a fee, right? They take a percentage of each sale.
I
Um,
think. I'm not
and
sure.
both sides win, you know. But I think at the end of the day, Microsoft's gonna be getting a majority of that money.
Yeah, and this also, um, Microsoft owning all of these Activision and Blizzard properties now means that both Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot are now Microsoft characters.
So that's interesting, right?
Yeah,
Crash, like honestly, like this is something I want to make a video on at some point, and I will, like an origin oracle of Crash, because that property has traded so many hands. Um, it's just kind of interesting because I've seen a lot of discussion on Twitter. There's a lot of like console war, like very toxic console war type stuff going on Twitter right now after this acquisition. Um,
console wars are fucking stupid. Just
they're
make
very
video
dumb.
games.
I thought we left that in the past.
Leave the console wars in the 90s and just play video games. It doesn't fucking matter. It's hardware and they're all pretty much the same anyways.
Right. I've seen a lot of like, oh, Sony fanboy is gonna be mad about this situation and blah blah blah. And like honestly, like I consider myself more of a Sony fan than a Microsoft fan. I'll make that clear for the record, but I don't really feel like I'm missing out on much. Sony definitely has like the quality studios to keep up a library. Just because Activision's going to Microsoft, I don't think that's a huge loss for anybody. Um, Especially if they have a friendly relationship with Microsoft to negotiate certain titles. It's not gonna have as big as an effect on Sony as people think. I think it's gonna have more of an effect on the gaming industry because the moment this acquisition happened, everybody's like, "Oh my God, who's Sony gonna buy?" Nintendo should line up a buy for Sega and Konami, and everybody's like saying the value of all of these publishers, and I think that's a very unhealthy precedent to set.
Yeah, like
Where
I don't want us to have like Microsoft or Sony or even Nintendo become the Disney of the gaming industry.
right, I think that console wars are healthy, not the toxic stuff going on Twitter, but Sony's pushing Microsoft to make better games, and vice versa. Nintendo's
Yeah,
kind of in their own space, but because of what's going on between those two, they can focus on their brand. I think Nintendo's a very brand focused, like, okay, how can we innovate this console to make it more than just like a gaming system? Like, let's
yeah, and
incorporate health, or, like they're always like focusing those things around their properties. And I think Nintendo's kind of falling behind on the tech right now. I don't
yeah.
know
Well,
what they're going to do with the Switch, but
I mean, like even with like Nintendo though, like even Microsoft is like uh they don't see the Switch as a competitor, and they've ported their games like Ori and the Blind Forest and stuff like that to the Switch because they don't see it as a direct competitor to the Xbox because of the fact that the system is so different and it's like practically a handheld.
right. So my concern is that this huge acquisition of one of the largest publishers, if not the largest publisher in the gaming market, um, that does set a dangerous precedent because it's not the first one that Microsoft has published. They've gotten Bethesda recently before that, which is also a huge publisher.
It's not just Bethesda either. They bought out all of ZeniMax Media, so they own Bethesda, id Software, and all of
Mm-hmm.
those companies.
Mm-hmm. And Activision comes with Blizzard and a bunch of other like smaller studios that worked within that. Now, Activision was for sale, so you can't like uh just like so I guess against popular belief, you can't just pull up to a place and hostily buy it unless you have some type of stake in it or they're willing to sell. So that's what a lot of people need to get in their head. Not everybody wants to sell their company. Um, so that's the first part of the criteria. But like if Microsoft is going up buying every publisher, there's going to be zero competition. And I know everyone's like, well, the government would stop this. That would be a monopoly. But I've seen worse. Like AT&T, Comcast, all those people have done worse acquisitions. And I don't really think that the government cares anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, um, I guess like Robin, how do you feel this it will have like a long-term effect on the gaming industry? I'm not saying that it will or it won't, but I think that this is starting to set a precedent where people are encouraging publisher acquisitions, not just studio acquisitions, because everyone's like, "Oh, Sony's guilty of this too." I really don't think that there's any wrongdoing in acquiring a studio that has done like 90% of the games for your console. Um, and even to a lesser extent, like console exclusives have never really bothered me. If something's going to Xbox, it's kind of like, oh man, well, I guess I don't have an Xbox. Whatever, we'll see. We'll see if I will ever play that game. Um, how do you feel about that or the effect on the market?
I think that like buying up like publishers can be like a little bit, I don't want to say dangerous necessarily, but it's certainly interesting because I've noticed that a lot of indie games, for example, people like will point to like indie games like with these huge budgets and they'll still call them indie even though the whole point of it indie is that like it's supposed to be low budget and stuff. And
Yeah, the meaning of that has been lost with time.
yeah,
In my opinion,
it absolutely has. Like you look at a studio like Devolver Digital, for example, and I love
they're not
Devolver
indie
Digital.
anymore, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I don't think they're indie, but people still call them indie. So I think that like if all these studios end up being bought out, then there's going to be like a hole in that third party publisher space, and
Right.
then that third party publisher space will end up having to be filled by what we would now consider indie publishers like
Right.
Devolver Digital. They're going to have to become the new third party publishers, which is something interesting because like can you imagine like if let's say like uh the second we stop recording this, because it's always the second we stop recording is when something happens.
We jinx it every week. Yeah.
Yeah, the second we stop recording, we get this news that's like, Nintendo just purchased Sega and Konami like on the same day, right? Like, I'm not saying that's gonna happen. In fact, I think it would be stupid if they did that. But
Mhm.
like let's just say theoretically that happened. Then we'd only really have like Bandai Namco and who else as like a third party publisher, you know?
Capcom
Capcom,
and
Take Two Interactive. That's
yeah,
pretty much it. Yeah,
Ubisoft, and I think I'm missing one more. But honestly, you can count them on one hand.
yeah, you can
Yeah,
count them on one hand. That's the
the
point I'm
major
trying to
major
get
publishers,
across.
right? Because
Yeah, the
I saw
major
like
publishers.
it's funny because I saw a list of these trending on Twitter when the acquisition happened, along with the value of that company, and there's not that many left. And
Yeah, there
just so
really
everyone
isn't.
has some context, like from the 90s when like Sega and Nintendo were going at it hardcore, there weren't really like studios under Sega and Nintendo. They were their own entities. Like it was Sega working for Sega, it was Nintendo working for Nintendo. Everything else was third party. Activision, Acclaim, um, Konami, a lot. So like there was a ton of these small studios or mid-sized studios that were just churning out games for these consoles. Back when building a game was a little bit easier, like you can do it in a shorter amount of time. But here's the deal: like as gaming got larger, these smaller companies either went defunct or they were swallowed up by larger publishers. And that's how you got Activision that grew, and started swallowing up so many small companies and destroying them. EA is one we forgot. That was the last one that we forgot.
Yeah, EA. That's
EA is the other one that was doing that. They were buying up studios, swallowing them up, and just like destroying them. Once they put out a game, it's like, all right, well, you guys are laid off or fired or whatever. So you buy it and then you get rid of all these people, or you put them in with another team and fuse that studio or whatever. So that was the trend with a lot of these publishers. I'm not really sure if that went on the Japanese side. There's a lot of smaller Japanese studios too that are thriving in some form. But when you have that happening, it created this bubble. Now you have first party system console makers like Sony and Microsoft doing acquisitions of these large publishers. So like just think about that in your head. Like it started off with small studios and the console makers and their first party studios, and then those third parties swallowed each other, and now the console makers are swallowing the third parties. So what does that do to the market? Um, and that's a question that I don't have the answer to. It's just something to make you guys think a little bit. Um, and I think that like the less options that we have overall, and the less neutral parties or third parties that are working to getting these games out, I think it's kind of harmful for the market overall. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's like, going up a little bit bigger, like past the gaming industry. Did you know that like the entire movie industry that we have is owned by like 5 companies?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how
there's
that's not a monopoly, I don't know. It's because we still have options. You know.
yeah. I guess because we have options between one of the 5, but it seems like we have a lot more.
So a monopoly literally has mono in it, which means one. So I guess like for the government, it just can't come down to one company. Um,
I think the like you have to own like 51% of an industry for it to be considered a monopoly. And I think Disney literally has 50% of the film industry currently.
yeah,
So they're
because
like
it's
they're pushing it.
as far as I know, it's Disney, Paramount, Sony, um, and
Time
then
Warner.
Time Warner, yeah, Warner Brothers and all that. And then the last one is probably like hanging on its last leg that I can't even remember right now,
Yeah.
because it's not Fox. Fox is owned by Disney as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think
Yeah.
of the streaming services, that normally puts me. Maybe it's Netflix, like I don't know.
No, I don't think it is. Because I think Netflix is owned by someone else. I'm not sure.
Well, someone leave it in the comment section below.
Someone
But
tell us the one we're missing, the one that got away.
the trend is honestly like in all the industries now. These companies are swallowing each other up, and we're like debating whether it's a monopoly or not, and like what we're just gonna keep doing it until we come down to 2 3 choices. I think that's like you're gonna have 3 companies controlling each industry, and I'd like that's mind-boggling in a sense because now like yeah they won't think outside the box. They're not going to provide options. You can't choose between stuff. You have to choose between crap internet and less crappy internet. Like it's much like our political system. So
Yeah.
or I'm
We
speaking
don't.
strictly in the US, but like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. We don't need to wait for the cyberpunk dystopia. We're already in it pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also heard, hold on, hold on. I wanna take this a step further. I posted this in the Discord like a while back. Where was this article? Activision Blizzard reportedly considered buying Kotaku and PC Gamer. So now publishers are trying to buy gaming journalism outlets.
It's like it's like when the New York Times did this post about like something that Amazon or Jeff Bezos did, and Jeff Bezos didn't like that, so he bought out the New York Times. And now New York
Washington
Times talks
Post.
about Washington Post. That's what it
Yeah.
was.
Mm-hmm.
Now Washington Post talks about how great Amazon is all the time.
Maybe we're going into like becoming a conspiracy podcast, Robin. This is
I think we're
working.
getting I think we're getting very very close to that.
But I mean, like if you're controlling the journalism area that is supposed to write about you, that's kind of a red flag. And I think with gaming, like honestly, we shouldn't take gaming seriously, but it does like it has a very large effect on the economy and the market right now. Um, and like honestly, for my own personal preference, there's always going to be like tons of games out there. So I'm just speaking in a sense, just like looking at the market and what's happening, right? I just don't think it's healthy for Microsoft to purchase. And you know what? I'll give a pass to Activision because there's clearly a lot more going on there, and they are trying to sell. So I'm not saying that, oh my God, Microsoft is this. It's all of the acquisitions combined. It's like the Bethesda part and like all that stuff. Like literally, they have the money to swallow up this whole gaming industry. And
Yeah.
funny enough, like I saw them acquiring all those small studios a while back, like a few years ago. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like they're bolstering their games and stuff. And then I'm just like, wait, Microsoft, what are you doing? and they're buying Bethesda. No, Microsoft, what are you doing? And then there's Activision.
Yeah.
So it's just getting worse and worse. But like, I'm not really seeing a lot of games coming out of that. You know, I'm sure they're giving them time and stuff, but like they've been doing this for years, and I'm not seeing like a lot of really cool titles coming out of it.
We got like a trailer for Starfield and yeah, nothing else.
We have that teaser for Elder Scrolls, and I'm
Yeah.
not. I mean,
It's not
I'm still waiting to see like if Microsoft comes out with some great games because of it, more power to them. I'm not
I don't
knocking them whatsoever, but like they did a lot of acquisitions, and I'm not really seeing the benefits of it.
can we talk about that Elder Scrolls teaser real quick? Because I don't consider that a teaser. I consider that a announcement that we're in development. All that
Right.
was just like some mountains and then Elder Scrolls 6 on the screen. That's not a teaser trailer. That's not even a trailer. That's nothing.
Why
It's
is that
literally
good enough
nothing.
for some people though? Like people got very excited over that. I honestly, I would love to hear that you're working on something that you can tell a game journalist that just like, yeah, we're working on Elder Scrolls 6. Like it is in development, but it's going to take us a while. We have nothing to show. I think that's
Yeah,
okay to tell people,
it's okay to
like,
say we have nothing to show, but if your like big announcement of like that E3 that year is like, hey guys, we're working on Elder Scrolls 6. We got literally nothing to show for it.
and you're
Here's a title.
and you're clearly showing like a trailer that has nothing to do with the actual game. Like I really doubt that
Yeah.
those mountains or whatever is going to be in that game. Metroid 4 is Metroid Prime 4 is guilty of that.
Yeah, Metroid Prime 4 definitely, and then
Shin
you even had
Megami
the
Tensei 5 was also guilty of that. Like they just showed a bunch of demons and none of that really came to light.
yeah. Well, I
Like
mean also like Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE or whatever
yes.
the like yeah they like did this whole like grand trailer showing like a big crossover for Fire
Fire
Emblem
Emblem. Yeah.
and SMT, and there was like this big announcement, and then when that turned out to be Tokyo Mirage Sessions, everyone was confused because they were like, "What is this? This doesn't look like the grand crossover we were promised," because it
What are
was
you
like its own unique thing.
what are you talking about? It was Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem. They had the Fire Emblem names in there. Come on, man.
Yeah, I know, but like, but like the way that teaser made it seem is that like you were gonna be playing as both SMT characters and Fire Emblem characters in the game when they're like pretty much just summons in that game, I think.
That was the last teaser that of that nature that got me excited for anything. That was it.
Yeah,
That was when I was just like, okay, you guys are doing some shit now. I see what this is. You just put out a title and like throw some pictures, put out a little PowerPoint presentation to me, and I get excited. Nah, I'm over that. Like I want to see some gameplay. I want to see that character moving around. I want to see some battles. I want to see, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I completely
that's why
understand.
I think Sonic Frontiers showed a lot more than
Yeah,
like your average teaser. So like they did show the environments and where he's gonna be running around, but I'm holding my breath until I see him running around and like battling and stuff like that type of gameplay, and then I'll
yeah,
make like a an honest opinion on it before playing it, and then giving my final opinion on it.
yeah, and I think that's the right way to go about things. I think a lot of people get like overwhelmed in the hype of like a title, and they don't stop and think if they just have a title, that means that they don't have anything to show for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I mean, even Metroid Prime 4, like you go back to that, they showed the title and basically announced that it was in development, and then like almost like a few months later, they announced that they were restarting development entirely because they didn't like the way it was going.
Yeah, so I'll give them props for being transparent about that because I
Yeah.
think it started with I forget who was working on it. I think Retro Studios was definitely working on it because they are the ones who did the previous ones. And
Well,
then
the way it was that was it was in house at first, and then uh, it wasn't going well, so they gave it to Retro Studios.
which makes sense in my opinion.
Yeah.
If they did 1 through 3, may as well go back to that. But I think that they were busy. Like I think that Retro was planning to do like some Donkey Kong game, um, or something similar, and then they stopped working on that and went back to Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
So rumors are that the Mario team is working on a new Donkey Kong game, but I never know what's going on at Nintendo. Nintendo's like super quiet right now.
Yeah, I think the only like things they're making right now that I'm really looking forward to is like Splatoon 3 Legends Arceus, which comes out in a few days, literally the day after my birthday, and
Yeah,
what's the other one? Breath of the Wild 2.
yeah, and Splatoon 3.
I already said
So,
that.
oh, you did.
Yeah.
Fucking, now I look like an idiot on in 4K. um, by the way, speaking of Nintendo, you did bring up some point like, oh, okay, Nintendo will acquire Sega and Konami. You're not saying that they were actually going to do that, but
Yeah.
I'm seeing that sentiment on Twitter a lot, right?
Yeah, that's what everyone seems to want to happen.
I want people to understand this. A lot of these publishers are not just putting out video games. They own arcades, health clubs, like a bunch of other stuff that Nintendo has to want to get into and manage if they want to acquire that stuff. So acquiring a publisher is not just like, oh, well, we just get all your properties. There's a lot that goes into that. And Konami, that's how they make the money that they do. They're still a big company because they're managing these, like, I think game centers and health clubs and I think pachinko parlors and stuff like that. Like, I don't think Nintendo has any stake in any of those industries. And they're going to have to want to actually do that. Or not even Nintendo. Like, it could be Microsoft or Sony. Like, these people encouraging this to happen on Twitter don't understand, like, the what's going on in these companies and like what they actually own. So I just want to
Yeah.
put that out there. Like, there's a lot more to those companies than just the games that they make.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people still kind of think of Konami for like Castlevania and Silent Hill and all those things, but they're really not a gaming company anymore. They're like at most mobile games, but like they're like all in on pachinko stuff pretty much.
And heavy on trading cards, by the way. I think they make like a
Oh
ton
yeah.
of income from the Yu-Gi-Oh series. And
Yeah, I always forget they own Yu-Gi-Oh.
yeah. So, like, as much as I hate their movements with like video games, if you have all of these things that you're working on and the games are like the highest risk with the lowest reward, um I don't knock them for taking a step back and going to other stuff. Is just that they treated their employees like shit, and then they like everybody hated them because they were making like these really dumb moves and disrespecting the IPs. But I see where they were coming from. Like, if you're doing stuff that's more profitable than gaming and you want to do less of that, it's a smart business move.
Yeah. Well, fuck. I totally zoned out.
Was that a sneeze?
No, that was like a cough of some sort. I stretched and then I coughed.
There's this weird noises in the background.
Yeah.
um is there anything else on Microsoft right now?
I can't really think of anything, honestly. I think we covered our bases there and talked about how we live in a cyberpunk dystopia and mentioned that Bobby Kotick was on Epstein's flight.
Yeah.
I think
I
we covered our bases.
I wonder what his favorite orange juice is. What a random question.
Yeah.
Bobby Kotick, man. That guy's been around way too long. Um
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I think that our analysis of this was pretty thorough. I've been keeping my eye on it. I'm sure that there's going to be more information coming. And I everyone's like, "Oh, this is business transaction is not final yet. Like, it'll have to be approved by certain parts of the government." They're going to approve it. I really see no like backlash from the government here. Um and I guess
Yeah.
after that we're going to be hearing more about what that transition is going to be like, and how this is going to work with Sony and et cetera, et cetera. Um but yeah, if you guys have anything that we've missed that you want us to talk about, the following week, leave a comment, let us know.
Yes. Let us know what you would like us to talk about if we missed. Um, but yeah. I think we can still talk about games in general, though. Mainly a specific game.
Which one are we talking?
Uh, this little indie game, funnily enough, called Indie Rumble.
Indie Rumble. So give
Yes.
us some background on that.
Well, Indie Rumble is this platform fighter, so it's like Smash Brothers, but it has a bunch of indie icons for like the stages and the characters. So, like, they have, let's see, they have the boyfriend from Friday Night Funkin' as a character. They have Papino from Pizza Tower, Captain Viridian from V, which is a game I haven't heard of, but apparently it has like gravity switching, platforming mechanics in it. And yeah, they got a whole bunch of characters. They have the kid from I Want to Be the Guy, if you remember that game.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and they have recently they announced that Alex from Y2K is joining, and he was their most requested character to join.
You know, like I'm fascinated by the fan base of that game. I'm looking forward to the update so I can be in on the experience. So I just at least I have like some talking points with it because I like the very passionate fan base.
Yeah, it is. It's very awesome. But yeah, they've also got even like a Brian from Yuppie Psycho and even Spark from Spark the Electric Jester as fighters in the game.
So you're not a fully platform fighting game unless you have a huge crossover cast these days, you know. So you got to come in with the fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's not even just like fighters. They even have stages based on indie games as well. So like they have like a super hot theme stage. They have a stage from Tori 3D. Uh, they have The Office from Edward the Game, and they're still announcing more as well.
Are you familiar with the devs, by the way, Robin?
Um, a little bit. I actually yesterday the post should be going up today, which this will be going up on Thursday. So a few days ago, um, now my interview with the lead game director of it, Dallin, is up on my Newgrounds.
I was about to,
So
now that you bring up Newgrounds, I was about to say like this gives me like some Newgrounds flashbacks. Um,
yeah, like to Super Smash Flash and all that.
yeah. So
Yeah,
like back on Newgrounds, like there used to be like a ton of games that had like their own Newgrounds series, I guess, like Madness, for instance, and like Pico's School or whatever. Um,
yeah,
so like there would always be like these games that like had all the characters in them, and it was just always these weird crossovers that would always get me like hype. I'm like, oh, I know this guy, and I know that guy. So Indie Rumble's kind of giving me that same vibe. You know what I mean? Especially with
yeah,
boyfriend being in it.
yeah. I think it's interesting that that like they have all of these different characters and they were able to get them all for this game. And I
Newgrounds
also,
is sorry. Go ahead.
so I think it's funny that we now have like official artwork of boyfriend and Alex together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now all we need is like Alex in like as in a FNF stage,
Yeah.
like
Uh,
officially.
I kind of want to see them do that now. I want to see Ninja Muffin reach out to Ack and be like, please, please.
Y2K devs, if you're listening, I don't see why that can't be a thing because I'm sure they're like based on the FNF Kickstarter, which definitely like blew the goal out the water. It's a very ambitious project. Just looking over like what they plan to add and how many songs, that's gonna be like a huge undertaking.
Oh yeah, no, I remember like because I'm a backer of that thing. I have I have one of the Tank Man statues that they were giving away. So,
Oh,
you know.
nice.
Yeah, I sunk a lot of money into that for some reason. But but yeah, I remember like I was like when they first like got everything all funded and stuff, they do like their backer updates in like their typical jokey way that they do it, and they were like uh they were like Kawaii Sprite is now crying at the workload he has to do.
Yeah, I mean, just knowing that much, I guess, like, I am glad that Newgrounds has kind of like propelled themselves back in like a mainstream sense. Um, because they've pretty much stood the test of time. Like every time I thought that Newgrounds is like more or less dead, they either come out with a new game, Tom Fulp and those guys, or something changes on the platform that gets popular, like FNF, and I'm glad to see that because that's like the original uh portal for like a bunch of creative people. So
Yeah, and like I use it like every day, and I still find a whole bunch of creative stuff and a bunch of creative artists and stuff. It's like ever since I stopped using Twitter, it's where I find all of the cool art and stuff that I look at.
right.
Yeah. But yes, I am really excited for Indie Rumble. I talked to Dallin, and he's a pretty nice dude. Like he and all of the devs seem to be like pretty nice people in general.
Well, shout out to them. I mean, I just love seeing like, indie publishers just, you know, put that passion in there and do the legwork and, having a crossover with several indie, I guess, main characters or protagonists. It's that's good. That's what you need for a platformer fighter game at this rate,
Yes.
considering Universal's doing one or Warner. Warner. Universal, that's the last one I forgot. Oh my god.
Yeah, Universal. Universal was the one.
I love how it just like I was thinking of Warner Brothers and Universal came out. Universal, that's the one.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, like they're making one, Warner Brothers and Nickelodeon just came out with one, and you know crossovers are important for those titles.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, no, I think like the game looks pretty cool from what I've seen, and I'm super excited. And I've heard some other stuff that they might be doing, and I think it's gonna be pretty cool if they do implement all that. And yeah, I think it's just super cool seeing this.
I heard you're
And
working on a little title, by the way.
oh yes, I have been tinkering around in RPG Maker MV recently because I got that because Matt's was like, it's only $8, might as well. And I was like, yeah, sure, because it was like on like a big end of the year sale.
That's a
Uh,
steal, by the way, because
yeah,
those games are
yeah,
normally pretty freaking expensive, and they never like do price
yeah.
drops.
Well, they're not games, they're like
Sorry,
software,
like
so yeah,
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 software.
yeah.
Slip of the
This
tongue there.
it's all good. Yeah, no, like RPG Maker MV is usually like 60, not even 60, like $80 or something, and I got it for 8. So if you see those programs on like sale, do it. Like it's a you're not gonna see it like for like a good while. But like yeah, no, I've kind of been like making a little game in there. I'm gonna like go back and try and make some flow better because like I did a run through yesterday and I was like, this is a little bit jank in terms of like how progression is and stuff. So I'm gonna like fix cutscenes a little bit. Um, but yeah, it's just like a little free game using the assets, and then I accidentally made it into a horror game.
I mean, that's I think RPG Maker is an amazing medium for horror games. If you guys remember like the OGs of that, like Ebe
Yeah,
and
I've
I
played
don't know
Eve,
Oni,
Aoni,
um,
Mad Father,
Corpse Party, I think was originally on RPG Maker.
Corpse Party. There's Masao.
Yeah, that's another one. Markiplier used to play all of that stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. To the Moon, I think actually, which is a really substantial series now. I think they're at like their fourth game.
Oh
Um,
dang.
that started with RPG Maker. Of course, I think that they've gotten talented where they don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
But that was definitely the basis of the first game, which It's great for storytelling.
Yeah, yeah. RPG Maker is really good for storytelling and stuff. Funnily enough, I actually prefer to like making the cutscenes than I do like making battles and damage formulas and stuff like that because I just like am a storyteller at heart, I guess, and I just don't like coding and you have to like specify damage formulas and I don't want to do that.
You know what's funny? Like all those games I just listed, none of them have battles in them.
Yeah, they really don't, which
So
is why I wanted to
yeah,
challenge myself and put battles in mine.
like
Yeah.
I know that some have like health mechanics where like outlying events will affect your health or kill you instantly. Um,
Yeah.
which I'm sure like is some type of system going on in the background. But as far as like the actual RPG elements, I think that that's something that people kind of like worked around and made like these interesting experiences overall.
Yeah. Like the game that I'm having does have like a little mini chaser enemy for like a little bit of it. And even then that chaser enemy like he'll grab you and say like I got you now and then it'll go into like an RPG battle. And then
Oh, okay.
if you defeat him, he's stunned for like a little bit on the overworld and you can get time to run away, but he's like if you lose that fight then it's a game over.
Sounds like Mr. X from the
Kind
Resident Evil 2
kinda, yeah.
in a sense. I mean, then again, like that can be. There's a lot of chase sequences. It's not like exclusive to that. I
Yeah.
know the corpse party chase scenes. Like this is sprite work, but they used to terrify me.
Oh
Not
yeah,
like I was
no.
sitting there screaming, but like I was actually like in my college apartment playing that game on my PSP, and I would
Yeah.
the crazy person that I am, I used to play that game at like 3, 4 in the morning because I had like severe insomnia at the time. And yeah, what an experience.
Yeah. I mean like even like a lot of those games they have some pretty messed up scenes in them.
Yeah.
Like like I think like there's like that scene in like Miss Sao where like one of the bad endings you can get is like eating like the weird cafeteria food and then you get like uh really ingested in it and then you find out it's like human meat or something and then you get a game over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where those games thrive is like the sound effects mixed with like the super descriptive um
like
graphic experience.
yeah,
It's not even the sprites. It's just like I mean, hey, could props to those guys for getting that right though. You know,
yeah.
you're working
Like
with
it's
less and you still deliver that type of experience. That's pretty dope.
yeah, it really is impressive like how like they can deliver with such a like limited kind of program which using it now and I can only imagine how like older versions of the software would have been in terms of like limitations and stuff. I makes me appreciate those games even more.
My first foray with RPG Maker, an RPG Maker game. I'm gonna see if I can find this, but it's probably like one of those things that have just been lost to the internet over time, which I think is kind of wild that that's a thing now.
Yeah.
Um, there was a Chaotix fan game, so it was like a
Hmm.
Chaotix RPG, like from the Sonic series. So, the main characters were Vector, Charmy, and Espio. Um, and I forgot what the whole premise was. I'm pretty sure that you were collecting Chaos Emeralds and you were like in a different world or whatever. And I'm like, this is dope. Like that was like my first like real fan game um
Huh.
for Sonic, but like I played that growing up. I didn't even get to the end because it was really difficult. There was a lot of grinding. If I probably
Yeah.
played that today, I'm like, yeah, this is alright. But at the time, I'm like, oh man, this is dope. And like Sonic was kind of like, around, but he wasn't a part of the party. It was like strictly their experience. And seeing that I wasn't like too well versed in the chaotics, even though I'm doing a video on them next, hint hint. Um, it was just cool to have that experience and stuff. It was I was like, oh, this kind of expands like what I know about the Sonic universe and stuff in a fan setting. It was nice.
Yeah. You should track down that game and make a video on it. And
Yeah.
if you can't find it, then uh at least this episode will be cited on the Lost Media Wiki.
I found it. It's called Chaotix of Tomorrow,
Ah,
made using RPG Maker 2000.
oh damn.
This game dropped in April 20th, 2005. That's how old it is. Uh,
Jesus.
I will definitely I'm gonna add this to my Chaotix video. I'm so glad I remembered this.
Awesome.
Let's like tick all the boxes. If I'm doing a Chaotix video, I'm gonna go into this fan game shit.
Hey, put clips from this podcast in that episode too, so you give me credit for reminding you of it.
I will.
Awesome.
If it releases before next weekend.
Yeah, the video should be, or this episode should be up on Thursday, I think.
Thursday. Okay, that's like my final editing day. So if it's up on Thursday, then definitely I can like sprinkle some stuff. Hold on, let me say who created it just so I can say it on. I almost said stream on the podcast.
Yeah. No,
Magnus Anderson, wherever you are now, shout out to you, brother. I don't know what you. Oh, his website's still up. Oh my god, this is so old. knuckleschaotix.net/tomorrow. Go check out that website. Oh my god, there's like this guy was obsessed with the Chaotix. I'm glad
Dude,
that I
send
found
me
this.
that website. I need to see it right now.
Yeah, hold on. This is some classic stuff.
God, I'm gonna send this
Check
to
that
Ricky
out.
so you can put it in the video.
Put it in the video,
oh my
Ricky.
god, this is ancient. What the hell? This is like Web 1.0 layout.
Hold on. This dude made a 2019 update to
What?
Chaotix of Tomorrow. Yes, it's been 14 years since I released the first edition of Chaotix of Tomorrow. I was very inexperienced about game programming in those days and made plenty of things I never would have done today. For example, attempting to do voice acting. Although the main response on the original game was positive, I got massive criticism about the horrible voice acting, as well as the frequent enemy encounter, which I just talked about, right? It was grindy.
Yeah.
That you were barely able to move anywhere before running into the next group. It also turned out that previous editions have turned very hard to read on newer computers. So I've created a new fixed edition with new font, making the text tons easier to read. Almost all voice acting has been removed, and the game now has 35% less enemy encounters, compensated by 35% more golden experience. Below is a screen of the 2019 version of the game. Feel free to compare it to the other images further down. That is wild that he actually did that.
That's awesome. That's
Holy
really,
crap.
That's actually incredible.
Yeah, I definitely have to talk about this on the video then.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. God damn, I'm gonna bookmark this page.
Yeah, no, do not lose this to the internet. Like, this is like some dark web stuff, you know, like you can't Google it anymore. Well, I did in this case, but it's on like some wiki.
Yeah. God damn. It's awesome. Well, that was a nice little rabbit hole we just went down at the end of the episode.
I like doing that.
Yeah.
Let's find a rabbit hole each time. Oh, he's done like several fan games.
Oh, he does. He has, hasn't he? Oh, damn.
Let's find a rabbit hole to dive down at the end of every podcast.
Someone should make a show called Down the Rabbit Hole and make it on YouTube. Oh, wait.
why is that not a thing, huh?
It is. Oh, yeah, yeah. Someone named Frederick Knudsen should totally make that a series.
Frederick, if you're out there, make a Down the Rabbit Hole series because we came up with that idea.
Yeah, we came up with that. It's definitely not a series that you already made that exists and has been notarized and relevant for years and hasn't made an episode in almost 2 years. Please make another episode, you son of a bitch.
It's been that long?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, shit.
The last one was the wine poisoning, I think.
No wonder, like, I stopped being recommended stuff. Like, I don't watch it actively, but it would always pop up on my feed and then just stopped one day.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's been forever. But yeah. Have you got any closing thoughts to add?
I think that this has been a solid episode,
I think so
complete
too.
with very fair opinions and non-conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Speaking of not having any conspiracies in this episode, did you know that the FBI killed Martin Luther King Jr.?
Has that been confirmed, by the way?
Pretty much. I mean, his family won a case against a senator, so pretty much, yeah.
Let me tell you, this is another rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Any history buffs out there, just look into the 60s. Everybody was getting assassinated. Everybody was getting shot. And then
Yeah.
the assassins would get shot. So
The
like one person
assassins
would
would
get
get
assassinated
assassinated.
and then the assassin was assassinated. It's wild, man. I used to read all that
Yeah.
stuff. Oof. It
Yeah,
was some
it's
mafia
crazy.
times. It was a very
Yep.
mobby time though. It makes sense.
Yeah, there was a lot of mafia stuff going down.
I wouldn't be surprised if like, they were a huge part of the government too, but
Yeah,
whatever.
who
Conspiracy
knows?
theories.
Conspiracy. We got to do an episode that's just entirely conspiracies one day.
Let's do it. Let's be a part of the misinformation that's out there. I'm sure we can't top some of these people.
Listen, as long as we don't like go full info wars, I think we'll be fine.
So seeing that as being as the extreme, yeah, we're definitely
Yeah,
be okay.
yeah. All right. Well, now that we've burned some bridges, I think I think we'll wrap up this episode if you got nothing else to add.
No, go ahead and take us home.
All right. This has been episode 8 of Whatever Whenever, the show where we talk about whatever we want, whenever we want. I am Robin.
And I'm the Mentok signing out, son.
Yes, we will see you all later.
Peace.